Your instructor or dive guide is there to help you navigate the underwater world safely. And there are a few key bits of information that every diver is told in their entry-level course. Some of these key bits of information seem to need to be repeated again and again on certain dive boats though. Your dive guide is there to make your dive holiday safe and fun. They're not there to do the scuba diving for you. Hi, I'm Mark from Simply Scuba, and this is 10 things dive instructors shouldn't have to keep telling you. Don't touch. How many times do we have to tell you guys? Keep off the grass and don't touch anything. And that includes the dive instructor, Cheryl. Stop calling me. You can do a surprising amount of damage to the reef and yourself when you touch stuff. So hands off, and that includes you, Cheryl. Don't complain. A lot of things that make a bad scuba dive are out of our control. We have no control over the weather or where dolphins and sharks decide to be at any given time. Although you may be surprised to hear, I am not a god, so I can't control everything. When things don't go your way, please don't complain. Leaving cylinders standing up. If it's your own equipment, fine, do what you want. Just don't come crying to me when it falls over and it breaks your first stage or cylinder valve. I know we joke about it with beer fines whilst you're training, but deep down we're quite serious. We're not that worried about it falling on your foot, we're more worried about the expensive rental gear that we would have to replace because you couldn't lay your cylinder on the floor, Jeremy. Qualifications don't mean experience. Just because your dive qualification says Advanced Open Water Diver doesn't mean that you're an experienced diver. Just like passing your driving test, just because you have a qualification doesn't mean you're any good. The more time you spend in the water, the better you'll be. So I don't care how many cert cards you have, I'm more interested in how many dives you have and where you've been diving. Check your gauges. We shouldn't have to keep asking you how much air you have left. You really should be keeping on top of this yourself. As an instructor, we have plenty of gas, and it's your own well-being you need to focus on. I know it can get distracting underwater, but you literally have a gauge on your hip telling you how much air you have left to breathe, so keep an eye on it, huh? Pay attention to the dive briefing. We love spending time drawing maps, assessing currents and potential dive profiles.
Oh, by the way, I was being sarcastic.
Your dive guide has a wealth of knowledge of the area and where to dive, so when they draw up a dive briefing, do them a courtesy of paying attention and sticking to the dive profile. It also makes their life a lot less stressful. If you stick to the dive plan, then your instructor doesn't have to worry about you getting stuck in a cave and running out of air. Check your gear before a dive. You are the only person responsible for your dive gear and whether it's working properly. So check your gear and double check your gear that it's all working properly so it's ready for when you jump in the water. Too many times I've seen people jump in without their air turned on or without a weight belt. In your entry-level course, we teach you to check your gear with your buddy before diving, and we do that for a reason. Getting ready. It takes you a surprising amount of time to get ready. So if you know it takes a long time, then start getting kitted up earlier so everyone is ready at the same time. Your boat will arrive at the dive site at a given time, so it would be really handy if everyone is ready when it arrived, as boats can't just sit still in the water, especially if they're right next to the reef. Swim away from the reef. Boats and reefs don't mix very well and can often be blown onto the reef by the current. So when you ascend after a dive, ascend next to the reef, but then when you hit the surface, swim away from it. This way the boat has plenty of space to pick you up. Boats aren't the easiest to maneuver, and whilst you are in the water, a sharp spinning propeller is the last thing you want to meet up close and personal. But if you're far away from the reef, the boat can idle, so the propeller doesn't have to be spinning. Are you listening? Now, we use lots of hand signals underwater trying to get your attention. If you don't understand what we've asked, then just say so. Don't just give us the OK sign. If you're not so good with hand signals, then bring a slate so we can write down what we need to know. If you just give us the OK signal, we'll just assume that you know what we want and that everything is fine. So there are lots of other things that we shouldn't have to keep telling you, but we're trying to be polite in this new year. But if there are any instructors watching, then let us know in the comments below what you have to keep telling your students and why. Thanks for watching, and safe diving.